All right, welcome to tonight's Ask Your Guides live session on, oh my goodness, it's July 17th, 2025. And guess what, folks? Mercury is in the microwave. So any glitchy stuff that happens tonight, I'm just going to blame it on that, okay? I believe Mercury is in retrograde, I think in Leo, um, because we're coming up in Leo season. Don't ask me all the details, but that's what I know for tonight. So, what's going to happen tonight? I'm going to start with some collective channeling for humanity and for anybody that happens to come upon this video as it's recorded later, and for those of you here tonight as well. So I'll do a little bit of that, and then I will get to our individual intuitive Q&A, which is going to be so lit. These are wonderful opportunities to drop in, get some spot on clarity from your guides, and what I've been told is called the voice of I am. And so, yes, that's what we're going to do tonight. It's going to be so good. So thank you for being here again. I also think I have a question that was written in that I might be able to answer tonight. So let's do this. Whether you're watching here and now live or later, just take a moment to really arrive in this space and know that we're setting up the energetic field for our session to include everybody here now and everybody here later. Knowing that what's meant for you will be shared in this time and space. Anything that doesn't resonate, you have free will and you can chuck it in the you know what bucket, okay? So we're calling in guides of the highest frequency, the clearest ability to communicate through me tonight, and the voice of I am, knowing that we are setting up a field of protection, of sacredness, of safety, grounding in, clearing. And know that even if you don't ask a live question tonight, that you may find that what comes through from for another might be for you as well. We're going to start with a collective message for humanity, knowing that these are chaotic times, changing times, and that we're in the middle of an evolution that could be humanity's greatest becoming. So there's some of you that may be watching this and feeling almost like you're on the brink of exploding. Exploding in the sense of almost like overwhelm, like a lot of energy, and that you've been perhaps sponging up in the world around you and in the collective, where it feels like you're at your limit for how much chaotic, rapid energy you can hold. Within that, there might be some negative energy as well. So this feeling of needing to express to others, this is what I'm going through right now. This is what I'm feeling. Not to dump on them, but to feel connected to what is truly human, which is our connection to one another. So knowing that this might be a time where when you go to express what you might be experiencing, it feels almost like turbulence in a way. That you're doing so with people that you already know can hold that space for you. You might have found yourself lately attempting to release these thoughts and feelings through conversation. Yet it's almost like, is this thing on? Is the mic on? It's a feeling of not fully feeling heard, which fuels that feeling of, I can't take this anymore. I'm at my limit. And being at your limit might show up in that way as needing conversation, but it also might show up in if you're somebody that does often express themselves, then growth for you might be being at your limit and going inward instead and finding relaxation or finding your own type of peace. However, if you're somebody that tends to keep it in, then this might be a call to you to start speaking up about what is too much for you at this time. Asking your guides, the spirit team for humanity itself, to help with some clearing that's needed for this energy of overwhelm. You might find yourself taking an exhaling breath with a nice sigh. Knowing that what you're holding on to tightly cannot be handled as gracefully by the divine. When we're holding on, when we're micromanaging even our own feelings and holding it all, there's no space, not a lot of space at least, for some intervention, for some support. And there's also many of you I'm seeing that are receiving divine activations, primarily through the third eye. I'm seeing a lot of purple, expansive energy, expansive light in the space. And that in and of itself may be exciting and sometimes also along this theme of overwhelming. Somebody asked me in my life today, why do we receive impressions, hints, or intuitive hits about what's to come in our life, like much later on sometimes, like without asking, just glimpses of downloads of our future existence? And the guides just told me now that it's pertinent to share this information with you all here and now. That when we receive foresight, whether we're asking for it or we're not, that it's to help the mind, body, emotions start to acclimate to the possibility of that being your reality. It takes the body a lot more time to adjust. So it's helpful when we receive a little heads up about what's to come. So as that third eye opens or expands, and you might receive visions of the future, impressions of your timeline, your sacred timeline, that it's all for your highest good and greatest well-being. So closing this section of our night with gratitude. Trusting that all will continue to integrate and unfold with ease. May you be well. All right. So now we're going to shift in just a second here into our intuitive Q&A, which I absolutely love. It's a beautiful space for you to drop in, get quick clarity, and be able to make the shifts you need or receive the affirmation you need to really dial in to what's for you, right? So I'd love to know, out of those here tonight, show of hands, digital hands, who would love a reading tonight? Or an intuitive Q&A tonight? Yes, we've got Sarah as a yes, Lynn as a yes. Okay. Sarah, your hand was up first, so we're going to go with you. Usually my guidance, I know you've been to these sessions before. I'm going to say for those that maybe want to come in the future that these are great for a single question or a single focus where we can tune in to what's most alive within that. So I would love to know what your intention is, Sarah, tonight. What would you love to receive clarity about?
I would love to receive clarity. It's actually somewhat related to the message for, humanity around the chaos and everything that's going on. And it's interesting, I actually was today, working through some stuff around not feeling heard, right? So even that stuff where they said, is the mic on, right? Like feeling
Mhm.
that. And so, however, I'm actually in a situation where I'm at the best time of my life right now. And it feels a bit discordant that I'm, great. And meanwhile, it feels like the world is crashing and burning around me, and that uh, and in particular, I have a friend who's very afraid right now for himself, and those fears are reasonable. Um, and I find that um, my way of, when people are in pain, then I feel pain too. But of course, that brings down my state. And yet, what I'm trying to step into is maintaining a high state. So, my question for the guides is how do you how do you maintain a high state of being for yourself while being empathetic towards others who are suffering and who are not doing as well as you are in the current circumstance?
Mm. I so receive that, right? As you speak it, that there are people in this time that are having the best time of their life, that are in a season of amazingness, right? And imagining that, seeing the outside, right, and can be painful, like you said, and sending your friend love as well. I drew some oracle cards for you as you were talking as well to tune into that. And what popped out was imagine,
Oh.
which to me, this card, knowing what it says in the beautiful wisdom oracle deck, is about focusing on what's possible, right? And if you were able to create this amazing time of your life for you, it's also totally possible that others can as well. So maybe your work as you're in that higher frequency is to imagine others also elevating, right? Kind of like Abraham Hicks says that seeing our current reality is kind of like chewing gum that's already been chewed, right? It's like there's no flavor left and nobody likes stale old gum, right? So reality is that old gum, and you're looking at what's the new piece of gum that I want to see the world be able to chew, or this person in my life or these persons, right? Because you're able to hold that frequency. The other card you got was yin, right? So that might mean you're in a time of receiving, right? Softening,
Ah,
allowing, right? And this is, I'm going to say, one of the most powerful states we can be in, right? Is when that sacred masculine is there, yes, but we're also in that divine feminine that's like, not only am I able to receive, but I trust that those that need it most are also able to receive. And I see that for them, right? Yes,
mm,
because
yeah.
you're a beacon mm, for others to turn on their lights and move towards that greatness that's also possible for them, right? If that's what their
Mm,
soul has chosen in this life, right? Because we all, and we have free will. So um it's sometimes there is possibility, right, for others to experience more greatness, but we're not choosing it, right? So I'm going to tune in and see if there's anything else there. Sure there is. Hmm. I'm feeling a call for some. Oops. Are you guys getting feedback?
yeah, Lynn, I think needs to be muted. There's
Oh,
really
okay.
weird
I'm going to
feedback.
mute you real quick, Lynn. There you go. Sorry. Okay. So I was feeling a call immediately to the stomach. Um, hmm, which if you're not having any issues with digestion or any, do you know what I mean? Like actual physical stomach issues. Mm, they're saying it's more so a feeling of powerlessness over mm, being able to make things better for others in ways that are outside of your reach. So it's this like, but what can I do? Right. Um, so asking for some alignment there in that solar plexus. Mm, yeah. You might feel some actual like physical gas coming up, or there, I got some for you. Some clearing, tapping on the heart center as you tune into this feeling, if that resonates with you, to kind of help pull up the care and the love that you have for those in your life and beyond to do well, to feel safe, and to know that they're also worthy, each and every one of us, of experiencing all that has life has to offer, like the best that life has to offer. We're worthy of it. Mm. They're talking about the need for anchors for other people that are experiencing fear, right? Like deep levels of fear. We need anchors in this world at this time, right? As similar to how I was speaking about your ability to be in a higher frequency and to be in joy, knowing that when you do speak with somebody that's in fear, you might bring yourself a little closer to where they're at so that the contrast isn't mm, shocking, right? Just like if somebody was in they were nice and warm and you put them in freezing cold water, there's going to be a shock. And that's how it can feel when our vibrational difference is so um, varied. But it's possible for you to bring your compassion to a place that doesn't diminish your ability to rise into the light, because you can always expand. So you might drop in, come closer to them, not limiting your frequency, but coming into compassion, into presence, into understanding without taking it on, and being and acting as an anchor, holding that space, grounding down as you listen, and noticing what is here now. Because all we can ever do is be with what is. So if we can be with them, those that are in suffering, those that are in fear, not from a place of how do I fix this for you? How do I be with you here and now that allows you to arrive at your own solutions or at your own truth? And of course, if there is a perspective that becomes clear to you, that you share that with gentleness. There will always be contrast. There will always be those that are in joy and those that are not. And both serve one another in a unique way. They're showing me that those that are in joy, when in the company that of those that are not, we recognize what a gift it is to be in joy. And we show others at the same time, those that are not in joy, that it's possible. Here's what it looks like. Here's what it feels like. Let me share some of this with you. Mm. They're showing me that what humanity needs most at this time, those that are in fear specifically, is the feeling that they are held, that they are embraced in understanding, in the deepest understanding that we are capable of providing. And that their fear isn't something to be ashamed of, because that layers and deepens that fear, reinforces it, that it's okay for you to feel this way, knowing that it's possible for you to feel better, but it's also okay for you to be in this feeling right at this very moment, and I see you, and you are held, and you are loved. It's bringing love to fear and doing everything in your capacity to not also enter fear, because two fearful states only amplifies one another. So if you're feeling fear now, or you know somebody that's in fear, everything in your capacity to make them feel held, loved, seen, accepted in this very moment is your greatest power. Mm. Mm. I'm seeing that there's also, during this time, when darkness is illuminated, it's only illuminated because of the light. We can only see darkness when light is present, or notice darkness when light is present. Just as you look up at the sky and you see stars, you don't see darkness, you see stars. And then there's an awareness that there's spaciousness that appears as darkness. So just as much as we are seeing that, there is also a flood of light, a flood of awakening within the divinity and consciousness of all that is. And that is what we are. Extensions of that. And just as they are able to feel and allowed and able to feel fear, you are allowed and able to feel sadness. Should that come up for you. Though it's not something we want to keep and carry around with us. We acknowledge it, we feel it, and then we rise. Because that is where we are most able to create and make a difference. Does that feel complete?
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So we're going to take a deep breath in and exhale. Feeling a lot of gratitude coming from our divine spirit team. Who are grateful that there are those that are interested and wanting to help. So thank you. All right, I'm going to take a drink of water. And then Lynn, I know you would love a reading, and I know you had one last time, and I'm so excited to hear where you're at now and what you would love to receive in this session today.
I'm going to make it just general what the guides feel I should do. There's a disrespect, dishonesty, and problems that are large within the city. And I've been involved in them, and I've been lied to and disrespected and ignored. And I have been proactive in the best way I know how to put out the information that is needed, so there may be a change. My question would be, and I'm not the only one, there is a large group of people who are very dissatisfied because of the disrespect that is being shown. So my question to the guides would be, this particular disrespect, dishonesty situation by a group of people to a large group of people, will it be resolved positively, or will it just continue to be a problem?
I'm sorry to hear that that's happening. That's painful, right?
Yeah, not only painful, just I'm a self-advocating person and I'm a fighter. And so I look at, I'm not afraid of what's going on in the world, because I know, I know it's meant to be. And we need that to get through it,
Yeah.
the other side. So I'm not afraid of that. I am upset and wanting respect and honesty from the governmental side locally, not nationally. And there's a many people who feel the exact same way, and I have been a part of that group. And I just need to know, do the guides feel that it's a resolvable issue, or it will be continuing to be
Yeah.
a problem?
I feel that. And thank you for your question. The cards that came out for you as you were sharing were here and now, right? Here and now, which is about our presence, right? It's about being here now. And what I felt when I saw it was if you can see, there's a little signpost on each side. There's like past and future, right? So you're speaking of what's happened in the past, and we want to know about what's to come. And also, your greatest power is right here, being right here, right? And that we're all tuning into as we're here right now. So, um, yeah, it says she's holding a little flag that says, "You are here." So, a reminder for presence. We also got the breathe card. Breathe, right? And this can be a call to presence and bringing in more energy into the body as well, right? As we breathe in life, we breathe in gratitude. She's got her hands in prayer, right? Of like, okay, if I can be here now and I can breathe, like that is good, right? That's something to be very, very grateful for. And when you were speaking to the outcome, right, of the situation, we got the flexible card. And so that might mean that there's some flexibility that might be had in the situation, right? Maybe it's not completely the way we want to see it be, but maybe there's a possibility that more than one party, right, in the situation could exercise flexibility, right? Or one of the parties, right? The one you're speaking of. What I love about this card is that the person on it, right, has their hands on this egg shape that has a face in it, right, of the divine, right, symbolizing like we're being flexible, but knowing that, or whoever's being flexible, knowing that that flexibility is supported and powered by source. Okay. So I'm going to tune in now and see what we've got here for you. Okay. All right. I'm going to actually, if you hear some feedback, if you can mute yourself, that'd be super helpful. And feel free to unmute if you have a question about what I'm saying as well. Okay. Mm. The first thing I saw and felt was kind of like an inner scream, if you would, or an outer scream even. And it feels like it's not just from you. I'm feeling a collective scream of the group that you're speaking of that feels like it's advocating for the good of people that might not be able to do so for themselves. Mm. I also feel an observant energy, kind of like mm, those that are watching or kind of just seeing what might be happening or just hearing about this situation you're speaking of. that are kind of looking around with curiosity and concern about what's true, what's actually happening here. And though the group that is advocating feels large, know that there's even more that are just starting to see. So that might grow. You might see a gradual or rapid, they're saying, influx. And those that are willing to take a stand for what's right, what's good, what's pure. Hmm. They're showing me what's happening in the situation. And also acknowledging that it's not something that I need to speak of because you already know. And the world knows on a larger scale. Not the world, portions of the world know. They're saying that for the opposing party or the party doing the harm or participating in what's harmful, I just got, they're showing me kind of like a deep need for power and control, kind of like wanting to keep, wanting to make things a certain way without a lot of regard of who is impacted by that decision. It also, they just showed me kind of like money being funneled in. Kind of like discreetly, if you would. Or like perhaps the money's flowing in with awareness, but it's not being used appropriately to create a positive change. It's kind of like being held. Kind of like there could be more done to make the situation better. Like there's bandwidth, there's manpower to create more safety. It feels like safety related. So it's not about a lack of funds or yeah, though there is some benefit to them in how do you say? There's a financial benefit to what they're doing, the way that they are doing it. But the main thing is control. Power and control. They're saying it has to get loud for there to be a flexibility, a change. Mm. Kind of like I see, mm, I see like the megaphones, like, not full-blown riot, but just kind of like, mm, willingness to speak on a public level, whether it be out in the streets of your town or media, things of that nature, people that are willing to speak up about what's happening and to really shine light loudly onto the situation. So using your voice is powerful, they're saying, but there's also an aspect of kind of like what can this group of people do to keep those that aren't able to advocate or are not receiving the care and support that they need. Safety is coming up again. It's what can that larger group do to protect or preserve, right? Like, hey, if you guys aren't going to do it, how can we do this together? So it's a call for community coming together is what I'm seeing. Kind of like uniting. It feels like there's been some division within this specific area you're talking about for a while. Like there's been pockets of community, but it's been kind of some division, some spreading out, belief systems, political stances, things of that nature. But it's like, what do we come together for, despite any of our differences? And so to your question, will there be a change for the positive? Feels like the person or persons feels like one I'm cueing into, maybe a leader of sorts, is has their head turned and kind of like in refusal to look, have a different perspective or like shift their view. But I do see, I see people kind of like with different perspectives within kind of like chain of command, if you would, around that person. Maybe not extreme differences in perspective, but kind of like a curiosity of are we doing the right thing? Is this right? So there are potentials, they're saying, for that to kind of bubble up. But there's definitely fear within those that do feel hesitant or have a question in their mind because they don't want to be ostracized or anything worse than that. But it's kind of like whispers that I'm seeing that kind of like float up to the awareness of this person in control. So it's not that they're not hearing it or not seeing it within their own organization, but it's also, it feels like they know about the group or they're aware of the resistance presenting itself in the community. And it's almost like it needs to get louder. Not violent or destructive, if you would, but just bolder. And exercising flexibility in what you're willing to do, not you specifically, but collectively, to almost like support, or I'm seeing like barricade. Maybe not literally barricade, but like, how do you keep what's important like in the middle of your circle? It feels like there's divine support coming through on kind of like an they might not know that it is kind of like divinely received, but it's kind of like people within your group kind of being like, oh my gosh, I just thought of this. We can do this. How about we do that? So there's ideas coming from source for ways that are healthy, productive, safe, inclusive, peacefully to create change. Your greatest power collectively, they're saying, is to be present together. It's kind of like the love, that connection, if love is too strong of a word, the connection you can share is what is most powerful. They're emphasizing, my words are getting janky. It's a lot of information. Yeah, so when you come together, you being present with each other and connecting with each other is actually what creates the most potential for change. Kind of like when they say when more than one is gathered in prayer, that God hears us, right? That it's your connection. That's the purpose of things kind of going out of whack, is to bring together. And so is it possible that there could be change for the better? Yes, and it might look a little bit different than you think it should look, right? Maybe it's not all the way, but it's a flexibility or a grace. I see them realizing, okay, we can't do this exactly the way we were planning, or the town is going to fall apart, basically. Like, I see people saying like, well, fine, we're leaving then. Or do you know what I mean? Just like upheaval. And there's already so much upheaval that and boisterousness that if it gets louder and people start kind of pivoting and protecting what is safe or what is precious to them and making sure it's safe to the best of their ability, that there will be some shifting. It's not without resistance, though, I see. I see kind of like energy in the jawline for this person of power. So we're going to ask that, knowing that we're all from source, from God, the divine, and that this person has a soul as well that came into this life for specific lessons, challenges, learnings. And we're going to ask for their higher self and all of the higher selves of those involved to raise to a higher level of understanding of what's fair, what's right, what's safe, and what's best for humanity. It's a call to ask for a disruption of ego. And knowing that whatever is to come, that these specific souls came into this life and chose this path, whether it appear destructive or unhealthy or unhelpful, to learn something. And we hold the intention that they will indeed learn that with the support of the group you've mentioned that is advocating for what is best. Seeing that it's totally possible that there can be an outcome far better than just the circumstance itself being resolved, but that the community is united peacefully. That it becomes stronger when we're together. Do you have any questions?
There's been no transparency, and the group that you're speaking of has been very specific, very respectful, very insistent, very detailed, very
Yeah.
credible.
They're being
And
ignored
the
specifically and on
individual
purpose.
is, I'm sorry.
They're being ignored intentionally.
So the individual you're speaking of, you're right on, dead on the MO, the method of operation. He's he's put up a wall and will
Yeah.
not communicate
Yes.
and will not budge. And that is creating
It's power.
much more issues than need be if he had been more accommodating.
Yes. So know that it's going to take your togetherness, right? And the power of that togetherness and connection. Knowing that you've already made effort towards speaking directly, it might be now, as I was mentioning before, kind of like speaking, I see like media, if that makes sense, or like podcasts. I keep seeing like microphones. Kind of like, if you're not going to listen to me, then who is going to? And how do we make this known? How do we make this, do you know what I mean? Like sometimes you have to make it more exposed for somebody to be willing to come back to the table and communicate. Because there is a refusal I'm seeing at this very moment for addressing any of the concerns. It's kind of like, nope, this is what's happening. I don't care what you have to say. Because it's about power and control. And only the ego operates out of power and control and will refuse to listen. Because if they had to listen, they would have to respond. And if they had to respond, then their response would be publicly noted, right? As inappropriate, wrong, unjust, right? And then more are aware. So if they're not listening, the approach that I'm seeing is microphones. Who do you talk to? Who do you not being a tattletale as you would, as we would say as kids, right? But more of how do you create awareness and speak to what needs to happen? microphones. You're doing it now in a way, just by being here. And so I'm seeing more locally. It's kind of like radio, knowing that some will not be willing to. You might get some no's, right? Like, hey, no, we don't want to have you on to talk about that. And it doesn't have to be you specifically. It could be those within the group that feel called to take those steps. But I see talking about it with others publicly as being important. Knowing, though, that the deepest change, right, happens in you being united. Whether or not it seems like they're listening, right? I'm sorry to hear this is happening. Does that feel complete?
Um, I've written letters to the editor, so as this other individual who's a very strong leader, he has been very, very upright and civil, and the brick wall is still there. And then I wrote a letter to the editor indicating a serious issue that they did not address and said they would. And so you're so you're saying it's going to take a long time before this gets resolved?
We can pull some divine timing cards for that. What I'm seeing is it's more of kind of like not going to other like officials, right? Or like major publications. It might be more so like I'm seeing microphone, like radio, podcasts, local based stuff that you're not trying to tell an official to change it. You're trying to create awareness within the community that
Right.
like, hey, this is what's happening and here's how we're going to come together. And we'd love for you to be a part of this, right? And here's what we believe, right? You're creating influence, right, within your community. And it's the people within it, including yourself, that are getting insight about, okay, now that we're together and we're united, what would be the best way for us to create change here? If this person's not listening, this person's not listening, this person's not listening, then who does need to be listening? Is it a broader media channel? Is it, right? Like, whose attention do we need to get? And you will know. I see it starting more with like smaller outlets, more so about raising awareness so that the people can do something about it together, right? The more of you there are, the more powerful it is. And then you're going kind of like skipping a level and going higher up and saying like, this is BS, right? And yeah, it feels almost like statewide or potentially national level, but I see state first. So yeah, know that the power though is in your collective energy together, advocating for what's right and doing what those of you can within your own power.
I
So
understand.
yeah, does that feel okay? Oh, my camera went off. It does that.
I know.
It does. Okay. So here's what
As always, go ahead.
oh, here I am. Yay. Okay, I'm back. Woohoo. What I'm
As
gonna
always,
oh
as
sorry.
always, as always, you're dead on. I see it as a I just see it as a blockade that is never going to get pulled down.
So you have the power though to create your reality, right? Which affects the reality of those that are in this agreed timeline with you. So
Right.
hold the vision, right? kind of like the card that Sarah got earlier, the imagine card. Like, what do you want to see as possible, right? So we're looking for timing. It says going too fast, slow down, take your time, right? So that might be just, and that might not be the actions itself, but it might be the energy behind it, right? Of like, right? Of panic energy, which is sensible. So let's ask timeline for the highest and best resolution in this specific situation. How much time until? Hmm. Okay, so for a complete resolution, it says not in this lifetime, right?
What a surprise.
Yeah, yeah. And that doesn't mean there's none, right? So for what is possible to be resolved, what is the timeline? Feeling some release. Hmm. Okay. So sometimes I'll get this when they're not going to give me a specific time
Right,
frame,
yeah.
and they do that sometimes. Sometimes it's more about what's actually important. Like they kept emphasizing is your connection, and that's already happening. So you're in it.
Yeah.
So it said it's time to let go, which is, it doesn't mean stop trying, but maybe letting go of has to be this way or it's not. Do you know what I mean? Or it's not
Yeah.
good enough, right? It's like, how can I be flexible in what I expect, or what I'm willing to accept as a resolution, right? And perhaps, yeah, for them to be flexible as well. That would be wonderful.
Just to be generic,
Yeah,
there needs to be a huge recall, and recalls are very, very, very difficult to achieve.
yeah,
And I see, unless there's a recall, I don't see any
mhm,
improvement.
yeah,
And I think when it said, not in this lifetime, I went, oh yeah, there it is.
yeah. It looks like, so the last ones I asked for, so that was for complete resolution, right? And you got by the end of the year for some kind of change is what I was asking. Like, okay,
Wow,
what's a shift by the end?
wow, wow.
And you got next week looks promising. So that could be next week might bring about like a detail or information or
Mercury
even
retrograde.
exactly, right? And that's what the retrograde often brings about is it's about realignment, right? That's why it goes retrograde so we can see what's not aligned. So yes. So I'm gonna hold that in my heart's vision for you as well. Um, that by the end of the year, that there is a positive change that takes place.
You
And
so,
that,
so, so much. At least there was some small
yeah,
opportunity.
yeah,
Thank you.
I
You've
think
been so
it's,
dead on.
yeah, I think it's, what really stood out to me was the united, right? United as the key word is how do you be united with those that are
Yeah.
working
So,
towards this?
nationally, I'm not bothered. I
Yeah,
know how it's
that's
supposed to
great.
enroll,
Yeah, it
but
didn't
on
feel
a
national.
local,
Yeah,
yeah, on a local level, it's been a roller coaster, and they're very, very resistant. And
yeah.
so that is even, the transparency is not there at all, at all.
I
So
hope it's
you've
bringing
been,
connection
you've been,
in your
you,
community. That's my hope.
you've just been wonderful. Thank you so very,
Thank
very much.
you, Lynn. It's such a joy to be with you. I'm gonna pull affirmation cards for both of you really quick. Um, I know we're a few minutes over, so I'm hoping that's okay. I'm gonna start with yours, Lynn, because I'm still kind of in that vibe. Ooh. Ooh. Oh my gosh. Look at this gorgeous card. Like, what? It's so pretty. So I'm going to read it to you. It says, oh my goodness, with perfect love and perfect trust. Oh my gosh. I open to the unlimited blessings of the universe for the spiritual benefit of all beings.
Well, that's encouraging.
That's encouraging. I'm going to say it one more time. With perfect love and perfect trust, I open to the unlimited blessings of the universe. Unlimited for the spiritual benefit of all beings. Holy cow. Drops mic. So Sarah, I'm going to do one for you. Thank you for being here with us. And whoop. Okay. So you got two that like flew out. And we've got answered prayer, answered prayer, answered prayer. Yes. So your prayers are being heard and answered. And we got this beautiful green one, which says, I relax. A sacred shield of spiritual protection supports my heart in attracting exceptional blessings and generous grace. Right? So as you, yes, take that sacred shield, right? Extend it to others. But I love the first statement. I relax. I relax, right?
That's
Yes, we could
wonderful.
all use more of that, me included. Let me tell you. All right.
I'm gonna have to leave because I have to make
Oh,
a
it's
phone
okay.
call.
We're wrapping up anyways. Have a great
Thank you
night.
very, very much.
Thank
Nabatis.
you.
Violet.
And as Lynn exits, just a whoa, I just like drew a card for myself. Because I was like, I want one. It says, I release through the crown chakra, surrendering gracefully into expansive spiritual freedom, ready to embrace new grace. Oh, yay. I love that so much. I think I'm going to remove Lynn because I think she got frozen. Okay, there we go. All right, so I'm going to make a quick little announcement and I'll stop our recording for tonight. Is that next month on August 12th, oh my goodness, the second Tuesday of the month, we're going to have Ask Your Guides live on YouTube, which is like, kind of makes me a little nervous, but that's okay because that's how we grow, right? And it was actually suggested by a few people that have come to these and going to be showing up live there. So you'll still be able to register to get the link, to get the reminders and do all the fun stuff. So that'll be there. And I'm sure I'll be sharing that soon. So, and secondly, I have my special on summer solstice for one-on-one intuitive readings and kind of lose my ability to talk after all of that. So bear with me and I'll put a link in the YouTube things so that if you want to have some one-on-one support in this way, that you can do so at a special rate. So thank you so much. Namaste and bye for now. Oops.